Good evening, Nightshifters. This is Third Shift HFY. Settle in and let tonight's stars tell their story.
The alien delegation approached a meadow at sunset, a procession of steel and scar tissue. Their boots pressed down the soft grass as though it was some cunning trap laid by human hands. These were not beings given to ease. Every step was deliberate, every hand hovering near a blade or blaster. They had been promised peace, but peace was a word they had learned to distrust. And then they saw it. Tables, row upon row, stretching like a river of wood and cloth across the meadow. Lanterns swung gently between the branches of massive trees that shimmered faintly with bioluminescent veins. The air smelled of spices, cinnamon, smoke, something sweet and foreign, and it unsettled the warriors more than any battlefield ever had, for here was no trap, only abundance. Bread baked golden, roasted meats dripping with fat, fruits piled into baskets so colorful they looked painted. The humans waited at the far end of the feast, not in armor, but in loose shirts and skirts, sleeves rolled, hair messy from the rush of cooking and preparation. They were smiling. Worse, they were waving. The warriors stiffened, armor clinking softly in response. What sort of madness was this?
They invite us to eat when we once vowed to kill them. What kind of species does this?
The answer arrived in the form of a human child who darted from the crowd, hair wild, face smudged with food. She ran straight for the towering aliens, carrying nothing but a plate of bread rolls far too big for her hands. The guards bristled, weapons shifting, but the humans didn't move to stop her. She offered the plate up to a general whose chest plate still bore the scar of plasma fire. The general stared down at her. The bread was steaming. The girl beamed.
Take it. It's rude to refuse.
Reluctantly, as if accepting a weapon, the general reached out and pinched the smallest roll between clawed fingers. The crust crumbled, warm and soft. He tasted silence, the kind of silence that makes a meadow hold its breath. Then the alien's eyes widened, and he made a noise, not quite a growl, not quite a sigh, somewhere between confusion and delight.
Ha! He likes it!
The humans clapped one another on the shoulders and hooted as though a great victory had been won. The aliens shifted in their armor, uncertain. Was this the battle? Was this what peace looked like, being outnumbered by laughter? Another warrior tried a slice of roasted meat. Another accepted fruit that dripped juice down his chin. Slowly, like ice cracking in spring, tension began to melt. And in the background, the children ran wild across the meadow, their games weaving through tables and legs, scattering joy the way soldiers once scattered gunfire. The night was only beginning, but already the war felt farther away than the stars. The tables creaked as guests finally sat, wood groaning beneath the weight of armor not designed for banquets. Humans plopped down with the ease of old farmers, elbows on the table, mugs already in hand. The aliens shifted stiffly, as if expecting the benches to collapse beneath them. A platter slid across the table, roasted meat glistening in firelight. A human pushed it toward a warrior whose armor still smoked faintly from old burns.
Go on, try it. Best cuts you'll ever have, promise.
The alien narrowed his eyes, nostrils flaring at the unfamiliar scent. Slowly, he took a slice, raised it to his mouth, and bit. A pause. His eyes widened slightly. Then came a sound not unlike gravel rolling downhill, but it was approval of a sort.
Not terrible.
Humans roared with laughter. One slapped the warrior's back so hard his armor clanged. The alien nearly toppled over the bench, scowling in confusion. Meanwhile, another human child shoved the bowl of fruit toward a different alien. Bright red juice dripped over his claws as he fumbled with the soft flesh.
It leaks. You're supposed to eat it, silly.
The warrior obeyed, biting into the fruit with exaggerated care. Juice splattered across his chin. He blinked, startled, then let out a low, rumbling laugh. The sound startled even his fellow soldiers, who stared as if seeing him for the first time. And just like that, the first taste of peace was served. Bread and meat, fruit and laughter, enough to confuse any warlord, and far more dangerous than any weapon. The feast spread like wildfire. Humans urged their guests to try this stew, that pie, those biscuits that crumbled like sand in the mouth. Aliens offered their own dishes in return, dense, bitter, pungent. Humans tried them anyway, coughing politely, some fanning their tongues with napkins while insisting, "Delicious, truly." The aliens began to understand. This was no trap. This was worse. This was surrender, not of land or power, but of dignity, the kind no soldier can resist when faced with laughter and food. The feast was already loosening jaws and shoulders when the real assault began. Not from warriors, but from children. They darted like comets through the meadow, shrieking with laughter, ignoring the fragile truce in favor of chasing games no general could ever plan for. One boy collided with an armored knee, bounced back, then looked up with wide eyes.
You're it!
The alien warlord froze. His soldiers tensed. And then the boy slapped his plated thigh and sprinted away.
What?
Before he could protest, another child seized his clawed hand, tugging with ridiculous determination.
Come on, you have to chase us.
The great warlord, scourge of 3 systems, found himself stumbling after them, chased not by fear or fury, but by giggling children who refused to accept no. His soldiers stared, dumbstruck. Nearby, 2 human girls cornered another warrior and began weaving wildflowers into the seams of his dented pauldrons.
Hold still. You'll look pretty.
Pretty?
The humans at the table erupted into laughter, mugs thumping against wood. The alien sat frozen, eyes darting as petals piled higher, until finally, a reluctant rumble escaped him. A laugh, low and rusty, but a laugh nonetheless. And that was how the line broke. Not with treaties, not with speeches, but with children who understood that warlords made fine playmates once you got them running. The meadow became an arena, but not of blood. Someone, no one remembered who, suggested an arm wrestling match. It was as though the idea itself had been waiting in the air, desperate to happen. A table was cleared, mugs shoved aside. A human farmer rolled up his sleeves, muscles knotted from years of ploughing more than peace treaties. Across from him, an alien warrior planted his plated elbow, claws tapping against wood.
Don't hold back. I wasn't planning to.
The crowd leaned in, a hush falling. Then the hands locked. Wood creaked, the table groaned. Both men snarled with effort, until, with a crash, the human slammed the warrior's fist flat. Ha!
Again.
Soon it spread. Stone-throwing contests erupted, boulders hurled across the meadow with cheers rising like smoke. Humans laughed as aliens outmuscled them, then doubled their laughter when the losers demanded best 2 out of 3. And then came the 3-legged race. No one could quite explain how it began. But within minutes, a human soldier and a towering alien were tied together at the ankle with a strip of cloth.
Left foot? No, your other left.
They stumbled, toppled, rolled through grass, while the crowd howled with delight. Even the stiffest diplomats were clutching their sides, tears streaming from eyes unused to laughter. Thus the battlefield was reborn, not for conquest, but for contests. And the fiercest warriors in the galaxy discovered something far more dangerous than war: humiliation at the hands of a 3-legged race. The games burned themselves out like fireworks, laughter still echoing across the meadow. Torches hissed in the night air, and mugs sloshed with the dregs of too much celebration. Then, as if by unspoken agreement, the noise dimmed. Someone cleared their throat. An elder human, hair white, uniform jacket worn thin at the elbows, rose to his feet. The crowd hushed, even the children stilled, their games forgotten.
I'll tell you a story. Long ago, before any of us dreamed of stars, humans fought a war on their own soil. Trenches, mud, misery, soldiers facing each other across shattered ground. And yet...
He paused, eyes sweeping the firelit faces.
One night, Christmas, we called it, the guns went silent. The enemies climbed from their trenches, met in the middle, and shared food. They sang. They played a game of football in the mud, under the sound of their own laughter.
The aliens listened, still as statues. One warrior's claws curled tight against the table, scraping wood softly. Another's eyes flickered with something not unlike longing.
You stopped killing in the middle of war.
Yes, for one night, enemies became neighbors. We've never forgotten it.
The silence that followed was deeper than any battle pause, thick with unspoken things. Above, the twin moons watched from their thrones in the sky, as if the stars themselves leaned closer to listen. And so the meadow remembered another meadow, long buried in mud and gunpowder. The aliens understood, in that moment, that humanity's strangest weapon was not fury of fire, but the ability to lay both aside for the sake of a game.
The silence lingered like a held breath. Then a sound broke it, not a weapon, not a command, but a guitar, a single strung, warm and clumsy, spilling into the night. Heads turned. A young human sat cross-legged by the fire, fingers fumbling over strings.
Anyone know a tune?
The humans laughed, some softly, some loud. A second instrument joined, a hollow alien pipe, low and resonant, its notes vibrating through the meadow like the heartbeat of a mountain. The two sounds clashed, then circled one another, hesitant as strangers meeting for the first time. Music, too, is a battlefield. First comes the skirmish, awkward and uncertain. Then, little by little, harmony sneaks in. Drums arrived next, human hands slapping skins in uneven rhythm. Another alien added a stringed instrument that thrummed like thunder. Soon, the meadow was alive with a fusion of sounds no one had planned, but everyone knew. A human woman leapt to her feet, skirts swirling.
Come on, if you can fight, you can dance.
The first to join her was not another human, but an alien soldier, stiff at first, then stomping in time. His armor rattled like percussion, and the crowd roared approval. Children darted in circles, inventing steps no one could follow. Humans linked arms with aliens, pulling them into clumsy spins, some collapsing into laughter, others stubbornly determined to master the steps.
This is harder than war.
Exactly.
The music swelled. Clumsy turned confident, until the night itself seemed to sway. Firelight and lanterns blurred into motion, and the meadow became less a gathering and more a celebration. And so the feast reached its wildest hour. Voices raised not in war cries but in songs, some tuneful, some painfully not, yet all carrying the same refrain, that enemies could dance together beneath the stars. The music slowed, not because anyone planned it, but because exhaustion demanded it. Children collapsed in heaps of giggles, warriors slumped onto benches with mugs in hand, and the meadow hummed with the ragged breath of joy. One small boy, cheeks sticky with juice, hair wild from running, staggered toward the alien warlord. The same towering figure who hours earlier had sworn he would never sit at a human's table. Without hesitation, the boy clambered up onto the alien's armored lap, curled like a cat, and promptly fell asleep. The warlord went rigid, staring down at the tiny wake pressed against him. His claws flexed uncertainly, hovering in the air. His soldiers stiffened, unsure if they should intervene. Humans froze mid-sip, eyes darting.
What? What do I do?
A woman nearby leaned forward, grinning.
Don't move, you'll wake him.
The warlord blinked, as though ordered into the most impossible mission of his life. Slowly, carefully, he lowered his claw until it rested near the child, not touching, not yet, but close enough that the boy's breath warmed the steel. Minutes passed. The child snored softly. The alien did not move. Around the table, something unspoken shifted. Warriors exchanged glances, their expressions softer than armor allowed. One leaned closer to a human across from him.
We never had anything like this.
The human only nodded, eyes shining in the firelight. And so the mightiest warlord in the meadow became the stillest, not because of fear, not because of duty, but because a small human had chosen his lap as the safest place in the galaxy. The fire burned low, reduced to embers that pulsed like a second constellation in the grass. Plates lay empty, mugs toppled, and the meadow was heavy with the sweet silence that follows joy. Humans leaned shoulder to shoulder with aliens who only hours before had worn their armor like walls. Children snored in heaps beneath the glowing trees, their dreams untroubled. Music had given way to quiet humming, and even the insects seemed to hold their voices in respect. An alien commander stood at last, gazing over the scene. His voice carried not like thunder, but like a stone dropped into a still pond.
This night will be remembered.
A human beside him raised a mug, voice soft but certain.
Aye, longer than the war ever will be.
The commander considered this, then nodded once. No argument, no boast, only agreement. And so it was that a feast, not a battle, carved itself deepest into memory. For wars may decide who holds the land, but it is laughter that decides who shares it. On that night, beneath twin moons and firelight, no one remembered who won the war, only who laughed the loudest. The embers glowed, the stars leaned close, and peace, for once, did not seem like a fragile thing.